there everybody, my name's Weston and welcome to part 1 of Battle of the Bacon, a series where we plan on taking a full slab of bacon and turning it into 4 very different styles of bacon. Our take on a ranch style bacon, a spicy bacon, a classic home style bacon, and of course, because we love it, a maple black pepper. So let's go! Now each of these mixes I'm going to require a little hand. Oh, there we go, thanks. Okay, for the spicy, we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of distilled water, and we're going to add 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. Get that mixed in there, or not too much. 3 tablespoons of black pepper. We're going to mix that around all together in the water as well. We don't want it to dissolve too much. We want it to still be kind of coarse when we rub it on. To that, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Get that mixed all together there. It doesn't really have to be perfect. It can be kind of lumpy. Oh, man. Let's get my hand a little fixed here, a little helper guy. There we go. But with that, like I was saying, it doesn't really have to necessarily be mixed together. It's going to go into a bag and get rubbed all over a big slab of meat, so it'll be fine. Alright, to that we're going to do 1 teaspoon of this curing salt here. It's nice vibrant pink color. Looks kind of beautiful actually, if you ask me. Alright, to that we're going to add 1 teaspoon of paprika. It's going to give it a little bit of a kind of a little redness, a little teaspoon of cayenne, a little heat, spicy, and for some body, of course, we're going to hit it with a little bit of cumin, one of my favorite spices. Alright, so that's going to be ready to go. So with each of these, we're going to be scoring them about 1.5 to 2 inches apart, all the way the length of this whole fat side, and the reason we're doing that is for 2 purposes. The first to be so the cure can kind of penetrate deep down in past this fat, and the second reason for when we cook it up, we don't want it curling excessively on this edge. Should work out. So every flavor we do here is going to have the same basic rub down process. This one's a little bit drier than some of the other ones, so it's not going to have some of the extra steps, but we'll walk you through those when we get to those. But this bacon basically here, since it's so dry, we're going to rub it into, ow, dang it, not again. I'm going to set this guy off to the side here so I don't have to deal with him too much. So we're going to continue rubbing this in like I was saying and get this deep down into each one of these crevices down there. And then you were going to want to get it on all the sides, the bottom, just a thin layer on the whole entire surface. The most thing you want to pay attention to is deep down in there. Each one of them is going to sit in a bag, so it should be fine. And again, with each of these, they're going to go in their own vacuum sealed bag. Now, there are several different ways of curing: a wet method, dry method. Ours is going to be like a wet method. You want to be careful of ginger getting this in there. You don't want to get a bunch of stuff on there. We'll get that off and put that back on. We'll go ahead and wipe them down before we seal them up. But we're going to be doing like a wet method, so we don't need to worry about that. Anyway, so the sealing process, we're going to get all the air sucked out of there. Put a little orange device in there just to kind of help with the wetness of this rub. I don't think this one will be too much of a problem, so we might skip it on the next one. But we're going to go ahead and suck all this air out of there, get it good and ready to go, and start on the next recipe. Okay, so now moving on to the maple black pepper, we're going to start with 1 clove of minced garlic, and to that we're going to add 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Now, most of these recipes have to start with a liquid base because you want to be able to rub them onto the bacon without actually having to add any liquids to the bacon, so this is going to be our liquid for this one. To that we're going to add 4 tablespoons of black pepper. Get that mixed up as best as possible. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. You know the drill. Get that incorporated as best as we can without going too crazy. You don't have to go too crazy, remember. We're going to add a teaspoon of curing salt. Always like working with this. It reminds me of Pepto-Bismol. It's like powdered Pepto-Bismol. Anyway, we're going to get that mixed up. And then to that, for some herbs, we're going to add a 6 sprigs of thyme, about 2 tablespoons ish, 1.5 to 2 tablespoons, and get that mixed up, and then that'll be ready to go, ready to rub.
And as with the other one, we're going to go ahead and get this thing scored up so that we can get that rub deep down in there. And speaking of rub, this one's looking delicious. This one's a little bit more on the liquidy side, but we're not going to worry too much about it. It's not too crazy, so we're going to go ahead and dump it all on there and get it all rubbed in. We'll show you what we do with some of the other ones when we get there. But we're going to get this one rubbed in just like the other one, and we'll get it ready for bagging. On this one as well, I've decided to leave the little orange thing out of there. I don't think this one's going to be too wet. And I put it in there sideways, not thinking, but it should work out just fine. Next. Alright, moving on to our classic Homestyle. For this one, we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of kosher salt, 2 tablespoons of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of curing salt, 2 teaspoons of paprika. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of brown sugar to that, and that should be good. As you can see, this rub is a little bit more on the wet side. This is some of the stuff that I was talking about. So in this case, I'm going to pour a little bit of this wet mixture on there. Get that good and rubbed in, and then I'll take a little handful of some of the solids, that's some of the stuff that's left on the bottom. We'll go ahead and put that on there, and then we'll show you what we do with the rest of that once we get to the bagging process. As I mentioned with this, we're going to put this in the bag, and then what we're going to want to do is take the rest of that remaining liquid that we didn't want to pour all over the cutting board, go ahead and scrape as much of that out as we can, get it all on there. These are going to render a lot of liquids out, so a lot of this liquidy stuff will just mix in. It will be perfectly fine. Throw our little water collector in there and suck the air out. So last but not least is our ranch flavor. This is going to start with 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of curing salt to that, 2 tablespoons of black pepper, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. Get that mixed up as good as we can. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire, 1 teaspoon of paprika, another 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and we're going to get this mixed up as best as we can. And while I'm doing that, I accidentally spilled a little bit of maple syrup, so we'll throw what I have in there. We'll go ahead and fill up the rest of that tablespoon, but it gets about 1 tablespoon there, the whole entire thing, and that should be good. And again, this one's a little bit liquidy, so we're gonna do the same thing, put a little bit of the wet stuff, reserve some for the back, get it good and rubbed in all the little cracks and crevices. Flip it over, rub a little bit into the back, get it all over there, and when we bag it, we'll make sure to put the rest of the liquid in there. Looks good. So there you have it. There's our flavors. We got them all bagged up. We're thinking of doing a giveaway of about a half a pound of each of one of these flavors. We'll let you guys know a little bit about that more later. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.